are now joined by David Wilson, the president of TRD and the winning OEM for the 2022 NASCAR Xfinity Series Driver Championship. We'll go right to questions, and we'll start up here to Jordan Bianchi.
Hey, Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. From Martinsville Saturday night to today, what have you seen out of Ty Gibbs?
Well, it's obviously been a tough week. It's been a tough week for our family, Joe Gibbs Racing, Ty. The whole team is part of our family. And what I saw Thursday from Ty was some humility, and it felt to me like he spoke from his heart. It wasn't messaged, and it was a good first step. Of course, words are one thing, and ultimately your character and your reputation is defined by your actions, and that will happen one race at a time, one lap at a time. Tonight, that young man drove his rear end off, and that was one heck of a race. I mean, that was an incredible race by Ty and Justin and Noah. They raced each other with respect. It was similar to last night. I mean, that was an incredible race, and everybody was, again, they did it right. So, tonight was a great first step.
Go up here to Jonathan.
Jonathan Field, the racing experts. Ty obviously winning the championship. How do you assess, his talent at this point? What does he need to get to that next level Cup?
Ty's ready. He's there, and because of his last name, because of the race team that he races for. Obviously, he is under a microscope, and he is always going to he has faced this question of, does he deserve to be there? How much is he there because of his family? And anyone who really watches the sport and watches what he has done can easily recognize that he's earned his spot. And he's ready to go to the next step. There's nothing more he needs to do. There's nothing more he's going to learn at the Xfinity level, given how radically different these cars are to the next generation cars. The one, if you want to get really analytical, the one thing that he doesn't have perhaps are the number of reps that a lot of his peers have, and the reps really help you with racecraft at his level. But my gosh, he is a talented young man, and he's gonna do some great things in the sport.
Go to Justin, then Nate.
Justin Schuler, Kicking the Tires. To follow up on what Jordan was asking about Ty, you mentioned that he's found that first step. If Ty were to come up to you and go, okay, what would be your advice of what the second step is, what that third step is? What would be your advice to Ty to handle himself with the following years moving forward?
So, I've talked to Ty, and I've talked to his father, and I've spent a tremendous amount of time talking to his grandfather. And I think any young person, any gifted individual athlete is well served to try and remain humble and appreciate where they are, and appreciate that they're not racing for themselves. They're racing for a team. They're part of a team. and unfortunately, I think Ty forgot that a week ago, and didn't understand the ramifications, the repercussions of his actions, because they hurt his teammate, they hurt his team, they damaged our brand, and that was a tough lesson. So, for us, the messaging going forward is about humility and teamwork and respect.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I've got a couple, David. First, on this being the first step and actions speaking louder than words, he obviously drove an extremely clean race. I think he might have made contact once slightly with Justin Allgaier. How much of a message do you think that sends to the Cup Series drivers that we're expecting he's going to race against next year?
Nate, I don't think you can. One race isn't a cure-all. It's one race. Now tonight was amplified because it was a championship race, and really what I find pretty remarkable is how, in the end, he had to strap in tonight after one of the toughest weeks of his professional career and do a job and race against the best drivers in the sport, and he was able to compartmentalize and do his job. And I don't think, he was out there holding the steering wheel, worrying about racing the right way. I think he knows how to do that. And but it was, on the national, on a national stage, I think it was really important. It was a tremendous opportunity for him to demonstrate what he's capable of. And as far as when he gets the opportunity to drive a Cup car, it's a reset. And of course, in the background, he's been driving a Cup car, that 23 Cup car, and he's got a pretty fast race car for tomorrow. But again, tonight was a great look, and we're really happy for him. Really happy with what he did tonight.
And you heard the reaction at Martinsville. I'm sure you heard the reaction from the crowd tonight. Trying to think of a way to phrase this. I mean, you're about to part ways with a driver who got booed for 15 seasons, driving the Cup Series, winning 2 championships, and now you've got a guy who's probably going to go up to Cup and experience a lot of the same reactions, at least initially. What is that like to think about that? And is it, here we go again, kind of at JGR?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I know and what you have probably already heard is certainly his family doesn't want that for him. Truly doesn't want that for him. I remember the Sunday morning after Martinsville won, talking to his grandfather, talking to Coach Gibbs, but I was talking to his grandfather, not to Joe Gibbs. And he was terribly distraught because the last thing he wanted for his grandson was for him to be disliked from the fans, and it really is personal. But what I said to Joe is he's, at the time he was 19 years old, and I didn't believe that, you're going to shape your reputation based upon one race or one season. I think that comes with time, and let's make sure he has the support, because, with as few reps as he has, as I was saying earlier, he hasn't seen all of the circumstances, all of the things that can happen during the course of a race. And I thought, actually after that event, we saw a course correction from Ty. We saw some things that we were like, okay, he's listening, he's growing. And obviously, there was a backslide. And that, unfortunately, when that happens, that kind of erases everything in the rearview mirror, and you have to start over, and even more so because of the circumstances and because of how egregious it was. So I don't think the black hat is planted firmly on his head just yet. And I believe that through his actions, through his words, through his sincerity, that he can recover and be who he wants to be who he believes he is. But honestly, that's up to him, and we're gonna have to see how that plays out over his career. He's going to be arguably in the sport another 15, 20 years. We hope.
Any questions in the press box? Any final questions down the media center? We'll wrap with Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Presumably, Ty's going to go to Cup next year replace Kyle Busch. In light of recent events, has there been any conversation of maybe a promotion? He's not ready for a promotion, and he could use another year to season in the Xfinity Series?
No, he's ready, Jordan. He's ready. He's more than capable. So the question is he emotionally ready, perhaps, right? And I mean, how many kids at 19 or 20 years old are emotionally ready? Probably, if you're actually, analytical, critical, you say no. I mean, these kids are getting married at that age. Are they ready to get married? I'm veering way off topic here, but but what Ty has going for him he has a family that loves him dearly. He has a manufacturer that believes in him, and I believe that the lessons, I believe that there's a silver lining from what happened last Saturday night, and those lessons learned, those tough lessons learned, will serve him and toughen him, and bring some humility that was necessary and needed to allow him to take that next step.
Okay, we'll take one more, and we'll wrap it, John, here.
JohnNewbyHeavy.com. This is obviously a bittersweet weekend for you with losing Kyle, losing KBM, but then you also have Christopher in the championship 4. You have Ty winning the championship. How do you personally navigate all these emotions?
Wow. Yeah, this whole year has been a roller coaster for me personally, for Toyota, for TRD. I don't like being in the news cycle like we have been every week, it seems like. But this is just one of those years where a lot of things are going on. And in the end, I'm able to find perspective. I've got a 2.5-year-old at home that keeps me grounded, and I find peace with that. But the reality is that we have so many wonderful things happening, and we get to watch Christopher Bell race tomorrow night. And I was sharing with some of you here yesterday, 10 years ago. Next month, I was in Indianapolis celebrating his USAC National Midget Championship 10 years ago, and tomorrow he's racing for one of the biggest motorsports trophies in this country, and he's racing because of TRD and Toyota, because we built a ladder for him, and I'm awfully proud of that. So, I'm going to focus on all the terrific opportunities we have and the terrific team that we have around us. And, I think that's what I'll do.
David, congratulations on a great year and another championship here in the Xfinity Series. Thank you for your time. Okay, we are now joined by our first members of the championship-winning team, Joe Gibbs Racing, with Coy Gibbs, the vice chairman and chief operating officer at Joe Gibbs Racing, and father of our driver champion, Ty Gibbs, and Chris Gale, the crew chief of the 54. We'll open it up right to questions. Start here with Jonathan.
Jonathan Field, the racing experts. Chris, you've worked with a lot of different drivers, past 10 seasons. Finally got a driver title. What does that mean to you? How's that feel?
Yeah, it does feel great. I've had multiple drivers. Obviously, I've had a single driver on the Cup side, won some races, but never got to the point to where we probably had a legit shot at winning a championship. I feel like, last year running for the Owners' Championship was the closest legit shot that I've had to get that far to actually kind of feel this emotion. But it's cool, to put in that much effort and to come away with, both of those titles this year, owners and drivers together. It's kind of cool to build that relationship with one guy, in spite of knowing whose son he is, but that part's really cool. So to be able to do that's a really big accomplishment, and I feel really proud about it for sure.
And I guess working with Ty, how does he compare to some of the other drivers that you've worked with?
Well, I think all the good ones are really aggressive, really good at restarts, getting through traffic. Like they have a natural talent to do that, right? Like that's one that some guys just don't get it, and they can be really fast out front, but they can't get back around guys, right? I think you saw that multiple times today. So I think that's the key to guys that are really good is they know how to do that,
We're going to go upstairs to the press box for a question, and then down here to Zach. Is there a question in the press box? Okay, we'll come back to the press box and come back down here to Zach.
Zach Sterniola with NASCAR.com. Coy, first for you, just the difference between the emotions of last week to where you and the team are tonight. What's how stark of a difference is that, and just how rewarding is this seeing your son be able to celebrate a moment like this?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a tough week for sure. I was, when you start this day, I'm kind of like, I just want to get this day over with. That was my mindset because I want to move on and get past it. But it is, I mean, it's, I've been through this before in multiple sports. Ty hasn't. So it was more watching him and seeing how he's going to react during the day. And I think he just doubled down and did his job after making a huge mistake last week. So it was fun to watch that.
And then Chris, for you, how personally rewarding is this moment, being you moved from the Cup side back to the Xfinity side, to have a moment like this and lead Ty to a drivers' championship? How rewarding is this for you personally?
Yeah, it's really rewarding, right? Like, I mean, you guys know a little bit of the story, having to go back to the Xfinity Series that I wasn't necessarily happy with, but, I kind of set some goals about wanting to be the best team, part of the best team in the Xfinity Series, and I feel like that with the group of guys that we had, we were able to kind of put they like to call themselves the misfits, the guys that nobody wanted, and we kind of took them and added a few guys and really made a solid team out of it, and personally, from my standpoint, I think it's it's been good to see that, and it's been good to get these wins, and it's been good to we all have a little bit of ego or we wouldn't be doing this. It's just the way it is. So for me personally, it's been good to kind of feed that ego and know that you can set a goal and go do it. And so this is just a culmination of that and makes me feel really proud for everyone involved, but, that part of it for me personally.
Do you know what's next for yourself for next year?
Not yet. We'll cross that bridge later.
Okay, I'm told that upstairs is rocking. You got a question for upstairs?
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. For Chris, you talked about this in your TV interview, but and how Ty responded this week, and I just wondered, what did you think initially after everything that transpired last weekend as to how you thought your driver would respond once you got to the racetrack?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Like, I know Ty, but I've never, Coy just alluded to it, right? Ty hasn't gone through something like this, right? So I don't know him personally from that level, from going through something, so tough, Obviously, yesterday and today, I kind of saw a different Ty. I saw him, Coy said double down. I saw him kind of, just put his head down, focus on the racing side of it more, right? It was a really tough week having to answer questions from you guys, everything that could have, went along with that. He hasn't kind of had that much of a spotlight directly on him the whole time. And it was just good for me to watch him in the race today, knowing that I saw him like completely focused. Even coming into the racetrack this morning, we just talked about little things that had happened during this week, and he's like, yeah, this doesn't bother me at all. Like this, the games that are happening and all I'm going through, I'm focused on the racetrack. When I get between those two walls, that's what we talked about. He's gonna be good there. And I feel like he was able to deal with all those problems and tune that out and then focus on the racetrack today, and did a great job of, he lost the lead a couple times, had to get back through traffic cleanly, passing, racing for a championship around all those cars that were doing the same. And I think it was just proud of him to see him do that, and be that resilient with everything against him this week.
Holly?
And also,
I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
just a quick follow-up. And as the race played out, and once again, which typically happens, we saw the 4 title contenders end up racing around each other up front for the lead. And the back and forth that went on between the 4 of them, how did it impress you as far as the quality of his actions and navigating that part of the day?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing, right? Like, he was challenged and put in a few spots where guys had gotten around him on a restart or a pit stop, and he basically had to figure out, how to do that, and there was plenty of time left, right? So he could be a little patient, right? And I think that's probably what he'll tell you today. He realized that, when you got a good car, when he's focused in on it, he can do that, and he can get back through the field and not have to wreck anybody or anything like that. Just to be honest, I think he just learned that today. It was just really, really good chance for him.
Thank you.
Good, Holly?
This is for Coy, and this kind of plays off of what he said. As a father, how do you feel now, having seen your son overcome and do what he did and put his mind forward and race like he did, and kind of what he's shown you in the days since last week? How proud, I guess, is what I'm asking you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely proud of him. I've always got his back as his father. Obviously, it's heartbreaking to go through tough stuff and watch. It's actually more heartbreaking to watch him go through it. I don't give a rip. I'm old and don't care. In fact, I've been racing with Chris since we're 23 or something. So I've known him forever. So we've kind of gone through a bunch of stuff in our life, but to see your kid hurting, and he knows he screwed up, and to go through all that, it's tough. It's tough as a parent, for sure. Watching it today was, it just to see his determination. And I think he's got skills and he's determined, and it definitely made me proud. I think it made my wife and us, we were both proud, just because he, just hammered down and did his job. And that's, if he wants to do this for a living, he's got to learn how to do that.
Go up here to the front.
Brendan Martin, the Lumberjack. This one's for you, Chris. Obviously the move at Martinsville took out a teammate and it allowed Junior Motorsports to have 3 competitors in the Championship 4. How do you approach that, knowing that you're going to have to go up against 3 cars that are from the same team, and sort of how did that approach go?
Yeah, I don't know that we had some methodical approach, right? Let's be honest. We didn't know starting this race if we were going to get wrecked 10 laps in, or it was going to go clean, or what might be the case, right? So I think all you do is you try to focus on the things that you can control. I know it sounds simple, but that's really the truth, and the things we could control today were bring the fastest car we could bring to the racetrack, have Ty as determined as he ever can be, plan to run as clean as we can ever be, and where things fell at that is like, even if we didn't win it today, we were going to be happy with that.
Go over here to Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. Chris, I think you guys had your best stop on the last one, 13.7 seconds, I think it was. And how in the overall scheme of things, how decisive do you think that was?
You know, I don't know because we lost the lead there for a little bit and still had to get it back. So I don't know that that was the game changer. But I mean, obviously it helps. You'd like to, I think you could see, I think we had a strong car and then just some restarts and the pit stop stuff. When you would get back, you know, it would take us 15, 20 laps to kind of get there. And then I think you could see the strength of the car come through. And so I feel like if we'd stayed out front all day, we might have, not let them get quite as close, but I don't know. The ups and downs of it, I'm just glad it all worked out.
Okay, any final questions for either Coy or Chris? And we'll wrap it up here with Greg Engel.
I'll ask this of you, Coy. Yeah, Ty's done a fantastic job kind of bouncing back and apologizing, doing all that. But you heard it from Noah and them, and maybe you haven't yet, but they were obviously showing him a little bit of respect and telling him that, yeah, he raced him clean and they really didn't have a problem racing, around him. That must make the dad part of you kind of a little bit prouder than.
No, I haven't heard anything from him yet. So, yeah, that definitely, after last week, anything's better. So you bumped me, but you didn't wreck me, and I would be happy with that. So, I don't know. I just think it's a process. I see all these young guys. We're bringing up young guys now. Actually, this is my first time I get to witness a young guy through Cup with Christopher and actually see him break through. But it's just a process. I mean, they make mistakes. They do stupid things. Sometimes it happens to you. Sometimes you're doing it to someone else. Obviously, doing it to your teammate was awful. But I think that's why they're running Xfinity. I mean, the Cup guys still make mistakes. That's for sure. I see that every weekend sometimes. So just got to learn from it. And you can talk all you want, but you better do the right thing down the road. And that's kind of what I tell them. It's your actions. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay, Coy, Chris, congratulations on an outstanding season in the championship. Enjoy the offseason and good luck tomorrow.